This is Soul Whiskey, and I'm your host, life coach, and soul surgeon, Tiffany Falvey. My flavor is unfiltered, unapologetic, and unrefined. Truth pours fast here. It's bold, raw, and real. Buckle up because this is where grit meets grace, where the sacred collides with the chaos. Every doubt, scar, and wild hope is welcome because healing doesn't follow the rules, and it's never too late to become who you were always meant to be. One thing that people struggle with quite a bit is if your goal is a future bank account that you're not getting to experience right now, how do I get there with my feelings? Because I just keep cycling back to lack and not enough, and it's hard for me to pay my bills, or I can't go on the vacation I want. I'm not able to buy the vehicle that I want. I can't even pay for the repairs on the vehicle that I do have or on my home. I can't take care of my kids the way they want. And they kind of go down this path of noticing all the ways that lack shows up for them. My advice to you is you're going to have to practice being the character in the movie that you want to play. Now, it's not even easy for movie stars to do that. They have to practice and they get better at it. But if you look at some of their earlier works, they weren't the best. They weren't the most believable. That's why they didn't win the Academy Award. You win it when you become believable, even in your own life. So you have to believe it. And you have to figure out who you're going to be once you have that bank account. What changes about you? Because I guarantee you that you change. Something changes. The dynamic of you within your family changes. The dynamic within you and your friend circles, that changes. If you were to acquire a great amount of wealth, and if you want to go down the age old, I won the lottery game, go ahead and do that. You won the lottery. What changes with the people around you? What changes with your colleagues at work? And how do you manage that amount of wealth? Now, there's actually not a right or a wrong. Let's say you want to use that wealth to boost your ego and make yourself feel incredible. Maybe you want to, some people actually cause other people to feel less than with their wealth. Some people use their wealth to build people up, and some people become very humble with their wealth and they don't want to show it to everybody because they don't enjoy that experience. I'm not here to judge what you would choose to do with it once you acquire it, once it's attracted to you. I'm here to hopefully suggest and encourage you to think about who you would be once you have that wealth. We're all different. We all manage those experiences differently. And wealth is one of those things that really does define us. What we do with it when we have it defines us. And I suppose so does health. If we have health right now and we have vision and we feel good and we don't do anything with it, what does that say about us? I was somewhere the other day with a friend of mine, and there was a man who had a walking stick and he was blind. And I just found myself saying out loud, I am so grateful for my eyesight. I'm so grateful to be able to see. I'm so grateful for my eyesight. I said it over and over like a mantra. My friend looked at me and he's like, I am too. Like he realized he was too. And it took us witnessing and experiencing someone that didn't have that for us to feel very good and very grateful for our eyesight. And I have found that the same happens with the pendulum swing of wealth. When you see someone that's really struggling and having a hard time, they might be homeless, they might be, a single parent, they might be in between jobs, they may have just gotten laid off. It may be something completely tragic and devastating that happened to their family. It could be a disease, it could be cancer, it could be anything. It could even be drug addiction. And you look at it and you say, I am so fortunate right now to have the experience that I'm having right where I'm having it, because that gratitude for being right where you're at today, right where your bank account is. I mean, if you've got a cent to your name, sounds funny because people love to say, I don't have a cent to my name. If you have a cent to your name, you're still better off than some other people. So if you have $10 to your name, you're better off. If you have $100 to your name, you're better off. People always want to have a frame of reference that will often cause them to feel less than. And I don't want to subscribe to that. I want to teach and preach the opposite of that. Be so excited about what you do have. Be so excited about the space that you have. When I come home, I say to myself, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for my home. I'm so grateful for a roof over my head. I'm so grateful to be able to burn wood heat, right? To have wood heat, to be able to have this beautiful wood stove. I'm so grateful to have this wonderful deck that my son built for me. I'm so grateful to be able to have grapes in my yard. I have an abundance of grapes. And I just go through this whole list of things that I'm grateful for. And I know people that aren't doing very well that come home and what they see is all the repairs that need to be done at their house. What they see is the leak. What they see is the chipped paint. What they see is the cabinets that need to be replaced. What they see is the leaky washer or whatever it is. I mean, there can be anything. You can choose to look at that which doesn't work, or you can choose to look at that which is working for you right now. And it doesn't matter where you're at in life, there is always something that's working for you. Always, even if it is just your feet, even if it's your taste buds, even if it's your eyes or your hairbrush or your shampoo or whatever it is, it's working for you. So, to piggyback on that question, another question that I got is how hard should you push yourself in your current situation for the betterment of the future version of you? It's a really great question because we, in general, don't need to push. We need to soften. We should soften into our current situation. And in that softening, the future version of you will show up a lot more quickly than if you pushed yourself. Because sometimes in that pushing, we might injure ourselves. We may burn out. We may go at a speed that's too fast. How many of you have had that experience where you're trying to pour something into a smaller funnel than what can take it? And all of a sudden it starts overflowing everywhere and you have this big mess. How many of you have started a workout too overzealous? It's January 1st and you're like, I've got this. I'm so excited to be in shape. And something's inspired you. I don't know what it is. Something's inspired you. It could be some infomercial on Instagram, or it could just be somebody that you know that got in shape, lost some weight. And so all of a sudden you're going to hit it hard. You go to the gym 3 days in a row. You're so sore. You can hardly get out of bed. You can't even sit down on the toilet because your thighs are burning. And you say to yourself, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. This is miserable. And you don't have a good time. If you're not having a good time, it's going to be very hard to sustain. I tell people this about diets. People love to go extreme with diets. They'll cut everything out. And I say to them, well, how sustainable is that? Are you going to be happy with that diet? Because if you are not engaged in a diet, when I say diet, I don't mean like the weight loss type of diet. I mean the things you choose to consume to nourish your body. If it's not something that feels good to you and is healthy, you're probably going to scrap it. And I want you to be able to sustain and maintain whatever it is that you're doing so that you can acquire the results that you're looking for. So, as far as manifestation or stepping into the life that you've always dreamed about, I want it to be sustainable. I want it to feel good for you. I want it to be something that's a stretch. So imagine if you did a stretch right now, like you were reaching down to touch your toes. There's going to be a point where you can feel it, right? You can feel that you're stretching. And then let's say you push yourself, just like this question that came into me. You push yourself. You're going to start feeling a strain. So it's no longer going to be a stretch, it's going to be a strain. And once we get to the strain and we go beyond the strain, guess what happens? Things snap. We pull muscles. We wind up in pain. And then we have to halt the whole project altogether. Most of us have experienced this at one point in our lives. So I would say to answer this question, it would be find the stretch that feels the most honorable for you. So if it's a workout routine, I would say, start out with 2 days a week and see how that feels. 2 days a week. Give yourself plenty of recovery time and keep the consistency. And then after like 3 weeks, then go 3 days a week. And then after another 3 weeks, you can go 4 days a week. But don't feel like there's some number out there that maybe works for someone else, that you read in an article, that you saw on an Instagram that's going to work for you. Only you know what's going to work for you. You are the expert on your body, on your soul, and on your life. You don't have to work out every day. You don't have to diet like everyone else diets. You can have one cheat a day, one cheat a week, or whatever it is that you call cheat. You can choose to do that and still acquire the results that you're looking for. So I'm not a huge believer in pushing yourself other than beyond your comfort zone. So if we're just talking about the comfort zone, I would say try to do that every single day. Actually, I wouldn't even use the word try, because try is like a purgatory. Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. So I would say every day, push yourself just enough so that you can feel a stretch. What is that? What does that represent for you? I have no idea what that is for you, but you do. Ask yourself, what would be a stretch for me? If we are talking about wealth, perhaps it's adding a few more sales calls to your day. If we are talking about wanting to make more money, we may actually want to consider saving a little money, which means what would happen if I don't do happy hour 3 nights a week? What if I stopped doing happy hour altogether? What would that be like if I did that 1 week out of the month? I did no happy hour. What would that save me? Now, I'm not a firm believer in saving. I'm a believer in making and creating and attracting. So you'll very rarely hear me say that you should constrict yourself or kink the hose in order to get to your end game. And that's ultimately what saving is. However, I see it as practicing investing your time, your energy, and your money into what you want more of. And very rarely is that going out and drinking and making often poor choices when it comes to eating. So, my view on it is a little bit different than others. When I suggest that you cut the alcohol back or the happy hour back, what I'm ultimately saying is lean into health more. Lean into taking whatever the money is that you would have spent on the happy hour and put it towards something that you might value even more, that's more tangible, that you're not just going to piss away. Honestly, I know that's such a derogatory way of looking at it, but I had a client once who said, okay, I'll give this a shot, Tiff. And he was saving close to, forget what it was. It was probably close to $120 a week by not doing the happy hours. And so by the end of the month, he had an extra $500 approximately. And he said, this is so fun because I've decided that I'm going to throw that $500 towards this or towards that. And he had these hobbies that he loved, and it gave him a hall pass to practice and engage even more in these activities than he had ever done before. And it was all because he decided to pull back from spending his money on alcohol and food. And then he reallocated those resources. And it was also time. So it was time, it was energy, and it was health and money, right? Time, energy, health, and money. And then he reallocated that towards something that he was more passionate about. Most of us are walking around somewhat unconscious, and I see this all the time in the gym. Speaking of pushing yourself, if you're pushing yourself so hard and you're not even in alignment because you're unconscious, and we use alignment all the time in the circles that I play in. And if you're not in alignment when you're lifting weights, any of you out there that do lift, you know what's going to happen. You're going to injure yourself, and then you're going to be set back for a while, and you're not going to do that thing that you love to do, which would be lifting. People that love lifting, usually traditionally, they know how to do it properly. And so you want to align with what it is that you want. And that means being self aware. And that brings us back to, how do you feel when you're doing it? Do you love running? There are some people that love running. Some people don't love it, but they do it for an end game goal. I don't love it. So I do other activities to get my cardio that are more competitive, that are more team sports, because that's fun for me. I enjoy that. Figure out what you enjoy. This is a personal trip right? This isn't just a roller coaster where everybody gets in and they strap on their belt and they put up their hands and they go, "Ooh," and they get all excited about. That's not what we're playing here. This is an individual ride that is tailored to you, and you get to choose how high the roller coaster goes. You get to choose how fast it goes. You get to choose whether you do a loop-de-loop or not. Some people don't like that. Some people don't enjoy putting their neck on the line for their business. That's not fun for them. They don't enjoy it. What would be the stretch for that person? That's what I would ask them. What's the stretch for that person? If somebody normally doesn't watch what they eat at all in any way, shape, or form, and they come to me and they say, "Hey, Tiff, I'd love to lose 50 pounds, 40 pounds. I'd love to lose 40 pounds." Then I say, what's the stretch for you? What does that look like as far as food consumption or alcohol consumption or soda consumption, sugar consumption? What would be a healthy stretch for you? Not something that's going to cause you to feel like you're being restricted, because we all know that's what happens with some of the yo-yo dieting is we start to feel so constricted that the second that we hit our tipping point, we go extreme and we want everything that we didn't allow ourselves to have. So that's not functional. Many of you will have experienced that before in your life, and so you know that it's not functional. So some people do that even with their finances. They will kink the hose to such a degree they don't spend any money because they're saving, they're saving, and they're saving. And then all of a sudden, once that hose gets freed, they'll just spend like crazy and they kind of go right back to the set point. And so we want to make slow, steady, forward moving steps that will get us to our goal. Now, I'm definitely not saying that it can't happen fast or somewhat instantaneously, because I have seen that happen too. I have seen my clients get so aligned that it seems to happen almost overnight. Now, is it overnight? Not necessarily, but it feels like it's overnight because they're falling in love with the new version of them. They're falling in love with how they feel. They're falling in love with moderation. They're falling in love with sobriety. They're falling in love with feeling good. They're falling in love with feeling prosperous. They're falling in love with not engaging in relationships that cause drama or arguments. Once upon a time, they may have been invested in relationships that were fairly dramatic. What do you want to fall in love with? Sit down at the drawing board of your own life and ask yourself, do I want to fall in love with sobriety? Do I want to fall in love with making money? And if I want to fall in love with making money, what does that entail for me? Again, it's unique to each and every one of you out there. We all have different skills. We all have different desires. We all have different set points. So if I were to ask you, what do you want in your savings account? Like your little slush fund. What do you want in there? I guarantee you everybody's going to have a different dollar amount. I have worked for some major Fortune 500 companies, and I'm always blown away at what these individuals will say when I ask them that question. What do you want to have in your savings account? Like just that slush fund. What does that look like? And sometimes they've never really thought of it. They're busy working, they're earning a great income. They're just not thinking about that. What is your ideal weight? And is that reasonable? How often would you like to be working out? Why aren't you? Why aren't you stretching yourself to work out? What is it that's in the way? Asking yourself those questions is going to be a game changer, because what it does is it starts to excavate some of the very real reasons why you haven't done it, why you haven't decided to stretch. So let's take stretching in general, just good old fashioned stretching. That is good for you. It's good for you in every way. Even emotional stretching is good for you, right? Financial stretching, emotional stretching, stretching of the mind. It's good for you. Why aren't you doing it every day? Why aren't you being balanced and getting out of bed in the morning and doing a forward fold? You don't have to follow a routine. You don't have to go to a yoga class. What feels best for you? Start to feel it. Start to just get juicy with it. Move your hips around in a circular motion. I don't care if you don't dance. I don't care if your hips have lied in the past. Get honest with them. Let them move and groove. Do it in the privacy of your own home and of your own bedroom. if you don't feel like you can cruise around your home. Put on some tunes that feel good and let your body move. That is going to be a real life metaphor, although it's not. It's a moving, breathing metaphor for how you live your regular life. There are so many of us that hide away. We don't allow ourselves to practice our dance moves. And then when it comes time to dance and there's a song that we really love, we feel so foreign in our own skin that we don't do it. What about love? We don't practice flirting with our partner, just flirting, just having a good time, just enjoying that banter. I don't mean sexual flirting. I mean basic human flirting, where you enjoy the other person, where you have fun, where you create humor, where you enjoy humor that's aimed at you. You're more lighthearted about things. For some people, that's a stretch. I was working with a client the other day, called me up randomly out of the blue, was super upset because someone that he was going to meet was going to be late for like the sixth time in a row. And I said, well, how do you want to feel about this situation? He was struggling to even tell me how he wanted to feel because he was so validated in the disrespect that he felt. And sure, it is disrespectful, right? Nobody wants to be late for someone. I didn't even want to go there. I just wanted to find out how he wanted to feel. And he said, well, I'd like to feel calm. I'd like to feel respected. I'd like to feel like this person wants to be on time for me. And I said, well, then feel that. He was like, what? I said, well, then feel it. Allow yourself to feel that they want to be on time for you, that they do respect you. Allow yourself to soften into that. So he met the person because he called me as he was waiting in the parking lot for the person. And guess what? He had one of the best meetings he's ever had with this person because his vibe completely shifted. And from that moment on, something changed, something clicked in him. And he'll never go back to the old way of being because he can see how he attracted it. He said, Tiff, in the old days, I would have walked into that meeting. I would have had like a chip on my shoulder. I would have had a bad vibe. My tone would have just kind of said it all. I would have been passive aggressive. And that would have set the tone for the whole entire meeting. And I would have blamed it all on the other person. Do you realize how big that is to be able to take accountability for your role in your life in general? Taking accountability for who you are and recognizing that you are the point of attraction for every single thing that happens in your life. You're the point of attraction for your health. You're the point of attraction for your wealth. You're the point of attraction for your weight. You're the point of attraction for all your relationships. I remember looking at people when I was young and I was like, how do they have no drama in their relationships? I've always had a low level of drama because I'm able to really touch the part of people that they don't want touched. I'm able to magnetize to the pain that causes you to want to maybe punch me in the nose. So I didn't understand how somebody could live their whole entire life so passively that they never had those experiences. Well, I grew up. And I realized that when you choose peace, when you choose to see things from another person's perspective, when you choose to give others grace, when you allow yourself to let go of the control of what you think others should be, do, say, or act like, you create this peace and tranquility for yourself that is so magical. It's hard for me to even explain it to you. And while I'm on the subject, it's important for me to point out that there is a level of growth that can be done with everyone out there listening that will bring you to a space where you feel like you can barely wave at the version of yourself that you used to be. So the people out there say, they'll never change. It's not true. When you want to change, you'll change. And those people are the most inspirational to us. The people that make a choice and they say, I do want to change. I do want to have a different experience. Then they will make that change. If you're someone out there that feels like you do want to make that change, you feel like you do want to have a different experience and you just don't know how to do it, that's what my one-on-one coaching is for. That's what we do. Is I will literally hold your hand and walk you through the process of changing your point of attraction. I'd love to tell you that it's easy. It's not. It takes work. It takes time, and most of all, it takes practice. But it is achievable and it is available to you should you choose to want to explore the stretch and sign up for the journey of a lifetime so that you can have the experience that you want to have while you're here for however long you're here for, because none of us knows the day, the time, or the hour, or how long we actually get to be in this wild matrix that we're in. Why not? Why not play the game in the way that you want to play it? Why not play it on your terms and partner with the universal terms so that you can create the life that you've always dreamed about? All right. Well, that's a wrap for today. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email at info@soulwhiskey.com. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. It's a warm one here in Boise, Idaho at the end of August.